Hello again, high school and middle school students. Yesterday you learned a little bit about what ALICE is and the importance of ALICE and the steps of ALICE of alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. And today we're going to do just a little some practice here to get you thinking a little bit about your surroundings and what you would do in the event of an armed intruder here at Proctor High School and Middle School. Tomorrow, tomorrow, we are going to practice the evacuation. Remember, evacuation is probably the most important step in the ALICE protocol, because if you can get out, we want you to get out and get away from the school if there's an armed intruder here. And so when everybody scatters, if you evacuate in a situation where there's an armed intruder, we need to have a way to kind of rally back together, to get back together somewhere, so that we can make sure you're accounted for, we can reunite you with your parents and things like that. And so our rally point for an evacuation in which there's an armed intruder, or if there's like a gas leak or any other emergency that happens in the school that might require us to have to get out quickly, our rally point is going to be St. Rose Church, which is a couple blocks away from here. And so in the case of an active intruder, if you can get out of the building, get away from the school, and then start making your way to St. Rose Church. And we're going to practice tomorrow that evacuation route. So you know where St. Rose Church is, you know how to get there and all that stuff. So that's kind of what we have planned for tomorrow at about 1:30. So you can expect Mr. Awesome to get on the intercom and say something like, hey, this is a drill, and we have an armed intruder or active shooter in this hallway or that hallway, and then you as a class can determine, should we stay in place or should we evacuate? And then he'll say that they moved somewhere, so then other classes can evacuate. So ultimately, eventually, all classes will evacuate tomorrow and make their way to St. Rose, so you can practice going there and know where it is. Well, as we saw in the videos yesterday, again, ALICE is all about options you have based on the information that you have. So once you've been alerted to a dangerous situation, you need to make a decision as to how you're going to proceed. If the threat is far away, then you may choose to evacuate and get out of the school or out of the building. If the danger is close by where you are, you may choose to lock down and barricade and just kind of wait it out until they move on to somewhere else. Remember, they talk about how when you lock down and barricade your room, the people who want to do harm want to do it quickly. So they're not going to waste a lot of time trying to get into a room that's blockaded or locked or has a big, has a bunch of stuff in front of it. So, the barricading piece is an important piece to ALICE in the lockdown piece. Or if the threat is right in your face, if you are right there, they come into your room or your space, then you might need to counter. So right now I want to just have you have a conversation in your classroom about, if an armed intruder was in our building, where would they have to be in order for you to feel comfortable to evacuate and get out of the school? And what would be your route to try to get out of the school? What are some exit points and things like that that you can use? Do you have windows that are on the ground floor? So those are things I want you to discuss right now for a little bit with your classroom teacher. Well, now that you've had a little conversation about the evacuation piece and when you might be able to evacuate in a situation of an armed intruder and how you might get out, let's talk a little bit more now about the lockdown piece. We talked about where an intruder would have to be for you to feel comfortable to evacuate. Well, if they're closer than that, you're going to have to do a lockdown to shelter in place. So what I want you to do right now is have a conversation with your class about what you would use to lock down, to barricade your door. How would you do that to make your room hard to access for someone who might be looking to do some damage? So talk about what you'd put in front of the door. If your door swings out, what you might do to make sure it can't be opened, and so on. So just have a brainstorming conversation about how you would lock down and what you would do to barricade in the case of an emergency. Now that you've had an opportunity to talk about how you lock down and barricade your classroom, let's talk a little bit now about if you come face to face with the armed intruder, what you might do to counter their attack. And again, when we talk about counter, we're not searching for them to try to take them down. We are reacting to them being in our presence and making it difficult for them to focus on what they want to do, and that's to do harm. And so if there's any way that you can distract their concentration, through like throwing things at them or whatnot, so that maybe you can tackle them as a group, and subdue them, if you could. So what would you use in your classroom to do a counter if the person came into your classroom? Or if you were able to evacuate, what would you bring with you in case you encountered the intruder in the hallway? What are some things around you in your classroom that you'd bring with? So looking at my office here right now, you can see behind me I have a big football helmet, let's see, right here, that I might use, bring with me. That would hurt if I threw it at someone and hit them. I got a radio I could use to throw at them that's pretty heavy. I got a stapler. I have, up here, I have some knickknacks. This thing right here, this glass thing is pretty heavy. So again, think about things what wouldn't you want to be hit with, or what wouldn't you want thrown at you in a situation where you're trying to focus and concentrate? Those are the things that you should be looking at using in the event of a counter situation. So have a conversation right now in your class about what you would use in your classroom right now to counter an attacker if you were coming face to face with them. Well, thank you for taking a few moments to have conversations about your evacuation, when you would evacuate, lockdown, how you barricade your doors, and the counter situation, what you'd use to bring with you or to use to counter in a dangerous situation. I think as you go through your day, kind of think about in each classroom you're in, when you might want to evacuate, where an intruder should be, in order for you to evacuate, how you'd evacuate, what you'd use in the classroom to barricade and lock down, and what you'd use in that classroom to counter. And so, again, tomorrow at 1:30ish, one of the big things in Alice is about the alert, the A. And if we ever have a situation in our school where there's an armed intruder or a dangerous situation, somehow someone is going to get on the intercom and be very honest with you and tell you what's happening. An armed intruder in the office, or an armed intruder on the second floor, or there's a gas leak, we got to get out. Those types of things, so you can make a decision as to what you think you should do in that situation. And so, again, tomorrow we're going to practice the evacuation. And so basically the easiest way to get to St. Rose Church is by going to the blue lot, which is right outside the field house entrance, and going down the road at the top of the blue lot hill, going down that road a couple blocks, and then taking a right, and you should hit a road to go left again, and you'll run right into St. Rose. So the map I'm showing you here kind of shows where it is. It's not too far away. And again, that's our rally point. And I encourage you tomorrow to enjoy the walk. We're not going to run or anything tomorrow. We're just going to walk to that spot, to that location. We're going to go into St. Rose so you can see, and we can see how everybody might fit, and how we're going to use that space. And then we're going to walk back. So again, I encourage you to take part in that, and not leave or try to do something else. This is something that you're going to want to know in the event that something happens at our school. So thank you for participating in this today. And again, tomorrow we'll practice the evacuation, and hopefully you feel better and understand what Alice is.